Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Mark Feinberg.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.
Has this been an amazing first day? If so, say yes. Have we created value today? Well, I want to take that value to the next level. Is that okay? I believe that in each one of you here today, that there's a rock star waiting to be unleashed. That there's a true seed of greatness that each one of us has been born with. And for some of us, it's just a little covered up. So I put together this success formula. I call it the Les Paul Rockstar Success Formula. So I put that together for this, and I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. But my name is Coach Mark, and I'm honored to be on the stage with you today. And I started out my career in the wholesale produce business. 20 years in the wholesale produce business. And one morning, I decided that after I got the trucks out, and the produce business, a very early business, and I got the trucks out and I decided I wanted to go have some breakfast. So I stopped at IHOP to have some breakfast. Now back in 1996, I had this brand new Dodge Ram, and they had just changed the body style. So anybody have a pickup truck in here? So you know the Dodge Ram, when they changed that body style, it was hot. So I'm pulling up to IHOP in my new Dodge Ram pickup truck, and I'm looking out the windshield, and I can't believe that there's this girl standing on the steps. And I'm like, what is she doing here? So I got out of the pickup truck, and I made my way up towards the steps, and at just that moment, the manager of IHOP opened up the door, and she went in through the door, and I kind of trailed behind her because I wanted to sit close to her and strike up a conversation. So she sat in this booth right here, and I kind of sat in the booth right here. I mean, there's nobody in the restaurant except the two of us, and it looks like I'm stalking her, but I'm not. But I am. And we start to have this exchange. Breakfast is served. She picks up her plate of food, and she slides into my booth. Now hold your hand out like this. Whitney Houston, you could have touched her across that booth. She was the most popular woman on the planet in 1996. And here I am having breakfast with her. And her husband was on the news that night, and she was in Europe and got into an accident, and there was a girl in the car. She snuck out of her Williams Island penthouse apartment, and she drove around all night, and she made her way to IHOP. And here we were having breakfast. And she must have been worth about $100 million, and I bought breakfast. And to this day, I don't understand why I did that. So Whitney was struggling with these two issues. And I faced these same issues my whole entire life. She was dealing with these two questions that night. Am I loved, and do I matter? And my whole life was about, am I loved and do I matter? Because my dad left when I was 6. I looked to the men in the neighborhood for mentorship, and Sheriff Ray, one of my mentors, who lived right next door to me, molested me when I was 11. I used drugs and alcohol to mask that pain for 18 years. I ran away from home. I dropped out of high school. I hated myself. I hated God, and I hated everybody that I saw. So Whitney was dealing with these two issues, and at that point in my life, 20 years ago, I had been set free from the drugs, the alcohol, the unforgiveness, the bitterness, the pain, the resentments, all the blame that I had put on myself, all the self-sabotage. And I was positioned at that moment to give her the hope that she needed. And for some of you here today, you're dealing with, am I loved and do I matter? And once you remove that roadblock out of your life, the rock star in you can come forth, you can step into your greatness, and really be the superstar that you were created to be. So that was an interesting breakfast. I sold my produce company when I was 40. I retired for a few years. The crash in '08, the real estate market crashed, the stock market crashed, and I started a debt solutions company helping consumers and business owners to be set free from their debt. And I built the entire company on a book called The Secret Money Pill. I reduced this price to 99 cents this week in case you guys want to download it. The Secret Money Pill, I gave it away on radio. I used radio as my main media, and I built a multi-million-dollar company, and I still have that company today. But a couple of years ago, I was reading an article, and it was an article about Evander Holyfield. And Evander was like my childhood hero in the boxing ring. And Evander made about $300 million in his career. And I'm reading this article about how Evander was losing his house in foreclosure. A 50,000 square foot house that he owned in Georgia. So I wrote a 4-page letter to Evander. And I shared a story for 3 pages, and then I finally introduced myself to Evander in the 4th page, and I sent it to his office. A week later, I get a call from his assistant, Toy Irvin, and Toy says, "Coach Mark?" I said, "Yes." "This is Toy Irvin, Evander's assistant." "Oh, hi." And I'm like, this is cool. And that's how my heart sounded when I was with Whitney. It was like, yeah, because I had never been around a celebrity before. So Toy says, "Mark, I just read your letter to Evander. He's in London at the Olympics." But this was his response. "Toy, you and I have been praying for the last 3 months for a business coach. Who is this guy? And I want to meet him, so tell him to get here to Atlanta." Timing, right? How cool. So a couple of weeks later, I was in Atlanta spending the week with Evander Holyfield, figuring out how to take his identity in the ring and transfer it into a new identity and create a new purpose for his life. And I stood in the gap for Evander because, you know, my whole life I struggled with identity until I was 30 years old. I didn't know who I was. I had one mask after another, after another, after another that I had on for so many years that I had lost my true identity. And maybe there's somebody here today that knows they're supposed to be a rock star, that knows there's greatness inside of them, that knows they're supposed to take their business to the next level, but you're just in this transition. Maybe for some of you here today, you're starting a whole new career, or you're seeking a whole new purpose, and you're challenged with this whole identity thing. So in a couple minutes, I'm going to share with you the success principles that I've used, 2 success principles and disciplines that I've used in my life to build the success that I've had the last 20 years. So just hang in there. Last year, I just happened to go to the fights down in Fort Lauderdale, BB&T Center, where the Panthers play, the Florida Panthers. And I met this fellow here at the fights. This fellow is a 2-time heavyweight champion. His name's Shannon Briggs. He beat George Foreman for his first title. And we started talking. "Hey, Coach Mark, yeah, I need to start a business, man. I haven't been fighting for 3 years. I don't know what to do. I mean, everything's paid for, but I just need to do something. Will you come over to my house for dinner tomorrow night?" Okay. So my wife Angie and I, we went over to Shannon's house for dinner. His wife cooked us dinner, and we hang out for a couple of hours with Shannon. And Shannon says, "Well, you know what? I'm thinking maybe I'll just get back in the ring and have a few fights and make some daily bread." I said, "Shannon, you're the 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. You want to get back in the ring and fight for daily bread? For what? I mean, if you're going to get in shape, you might as well just get in shape and do it. Or let's start a business. Tell me what you want to do." "Oh, Coach Mark, you don't know what you're talking about, man. You haven't been hit in the head before?" "Maybe once, man. Not like you've been getting hit in the head." He says, "You don't know what you're talking about. Get back in the ring and fight for the heavyweight title?" He was pissed. I left his house, and he was really pissed. He called me the next day. Hey, Coach Mark, it's Shannon. I'm sorry, dude. I know I went off on you, man. I'm sorry. I said, it's all right, Shannon. Just what do you want? What do you want? You want to be a heavyweight champion again? Or do you want to start a business? He was unclear about what he wanted. The last 20 years, I'm super clear and certain about the things that I want in my life. From my family, to my marriage, to being a father, to the fun and adventure I have, to the businesses that I run. I've gotten super clear as to what I want. And when you're clear about what you want, then it's just a matter of designing a plan to get it. So Shannon was like, yeah, I think I want to get back in the ring. I know I'm 100 pounds overweight, but yeah, why not? Let's win another heavyweight championship. So here's Shannon a year later, and Shannon is in the best shape of his life. He's knocked out 7 guys in the last year. Shannon has more first-round knockouts than any other fighter in history. 33 first-round knockouts. And he's in the best shape of his life, and he's getting ready to fight for a title at the end of the year. So I stood in his gap, and I was able to do it because I knew there was a time in my life that I was uncertain and unclear about what I wanted. And for some of you here today, you just may be unclear as to what you want with your business. You may be unclear as to what the next level is for your business. And I'm not saying all of you. I'm just saying maybe there's 1 or 2 of you in here that would love to have the clarity and the certainty surrounding going to the next level and what you want to have in your business. In the video, you heard Jim. Now, Jim called me up, and he wanted me to come and help take his business to the next level. I get to his office, and we're having a power day, and I finally get to the root of why he's stuck for 5 years. He lost his daughter, Jolie. She was 5 years old. And Jolie and Jim, one night, got into his van. They went back to his warehouse because he had forgotten a set of plans. Picks up the set of plans, comes home, realizes he's got the wrong plans, tells Jolie to go in the house, and he thinks that Jolie went in front, but she went behind the van. And he backed out of the driveway. And 5 seconds later, she was in heaven. And for 5 years, he was stuck. Stuck in unforgiveness, stuck in bitterness, stuck in guilt, shame, condemnation. And he couldn't understand why he couldn't grow his business. So that's what we dealt with. We dealt with that situation, and in one weekend, we sent out an email blast. Well, let me backtrack. We dealt with that situation. He broke free. He forgave himself, and he changed the meaning of what that experience meant to, I think my daughter Jolie would want me to give 100% to her siblings and her mom. And he committed to stepping into that greatness, becoming a rock star for his family again. And in one weekend, just like that, we sent an email blast to his prospects that were on the fence. And he created over $100,000 in one weekend because personally he was set free. He made a conscious decision to change the meanings in his life and go to a new level and a new standard about what things meant to him. And perhaps there's somebody here today that's dealing with self-sabotage, condemnation, guilt, shame, remorse from the past. Maybe that's you. So there's 2 disciplines that I have in my life for 20 years. The Les Paul Rockstar Success Formula. Does anybody know who Les Paul was? Yeah. So this isn't that Les Paul. These are my 2 mentors for many years. Les Brown and the Apostle Paul. So I call it the Les Paul Rockstar Success Formula. Discipline number 1, prayer. Prayer for me is twofold. It's speaking and it's listening. It's thanking God every day that I'm alive, thanking Him and being grateful and accessing gratitude first thing in the morning when I wake up. And I thank Him for my life. I thank Him for my wife. I thank Him for my children. I thank Him for my business. I thank Him for the opportunities. I thank Him for my team members. I thank Him for everything that I could possibly think of every single day. And then I go and I position myself in a way where I listen. I listen for the voice of God in me. And I also visualize. So I create a space where I can visualize outcomes and success in my life. And I see it. I can see the results in the day. I can see the results in the relationships that I have. I create that vision, and then I go about my day and I get started. So that's discipline number one. Discipline number two is I read the Proverbs every day. This is really cool. There's 31 Proverbs. So there's a proverb for every single day of the month. And whatever day it is today, I go to that proverb and I read through the book of Proverbs, that chapter, and I'll pull out one or two scripture verses and I'll apply those one or two verses that hit me over the head and make a conscious decision that these are the things that I'm going to be mindful of throughout the day. So I want to challenge you. Proverbs, take a 31-day challenge. I promise you, if you commit to reading a proverb a day for 31 days, and you go, that was BS, then I'll give you a power day with me. 8 hours. And my power days are 6 hours. And I'll give you 8 hours. So you take this challenge, you do 31 Proverbs in a month, I guarantee your life will be transformed forever. So here's the deal. The Proverbs were written by King Solomon, the wisest, richest man to ever walk the face of the earth. Do you want some wisdom for your life? Yes or yes? Do you want some insight for your life? Yes or yes? Do you want some understanding for your life? Yes or yes? Okay. The book of Proverbs will do it. So in closing, I have an invitation for you. That invitation is this. I can give away 25 one-hour strategy sessions to help you remove whatever roadblock is in your life so that you can access the rock star that's within you, that you can access that seed of greatness that is within you, but I can only do 25. So here's what you need to do. You can text me your name to this number, 561-309-1334. Let's remove the roadblock that's in your life. Let's take your business to the next level. Let's access the rock star in you. Let's thank Craig for an amazing first day.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Feinberg.